Welcome to Pulp Mortem, the search for lunch. So what's on the menu today? Some seafood risotto, duck à l'orange, roasted lamb with stone-crushed Yemenite shug. You know, I like the finer things in life, but there's nothing wrong with a classic turkey sandwich. Not enough cheese, you say? Well, it is when it's jalapeno Gouda. Get the brown spicy, save that yellow mustard for Cubans or Costco dogs. A little cabbage mix, add that crunch, but let the turkey shine. Let's not bury it in lettuce. Alright, let's try this again with some fruity dinosaurs. Like my grandpa. Whatever. I didn't want some bland yuppie sandwich anyways. Cereal for real? For real, if you think cereal is just for breakfast, then you mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling. What is going on?
I'm just gonna have some ice cream. I don't care.
Screw it. You know what? I'm an adult and I can eat a ice cream cone for lunch if I want. The Great Divide. I don't need no bells and whistles, no crunch, no cookie core, no caramel, swizzle, swirl.
Bloody crabs.
But first, let's talk about the author. Michael Aiken Elder was a Scottish actor and author born April 30th, 1931, and he died in 2004 at the age of 73. He is probably best known for his role as Dr. Archie Cameron in the television series The Flight of the Heron. I've read that he has an impressive list of writing credits, but I can't find that list. In fact, I'm having a hard time finding any information about Elder. Even the information I do have came from sources who were like, yeah, I think he did this. I do know for sure that he has written at least 14 science fiction novels under his own name, and that's all I know. Which brings us to Flight to Terror. He could have died mad, too. 10 years cooped up in that ship would test the strongest mentally, no matter how careful the psychological screening was before they left Earth. Then to crash at the end of the journey, just when you're in sight of safety, and to see most of your colleagues burn to death wouldn't help those who survived. She spoke levelly and without emotion, and Susan could see that privately she was thinking that perhaps her parents were the lucky ones if they died cleanly in the fire and hadn't been left to face a slow, lingering death on a strange planet with a few colleagues and little in the way of equipment to start a new life. Yes, maybe the survivors were the ones who needed pity most. Flight to Terror is an original story first published by Hale SF in 1973 under the title The Perfumed Planet, which is decidedly less cool than Flight to Terror. I own the Pinnacle Book Edition that came out in the States that same year. It is 192 pages and originally cost 95 cents. No artist is listed, but I see Soika's signature there, so it's probably safe to assume that it's Edward Soika. The cover is definitely eye-catching, but is it good? No, not really. It's a space crab with googly eyes.
Sacre bleu, what is this?
I've seen the original hardcover go for $20 to $40, and this paperback edition you can get for around $10. What's cooking?
Succulent crab.
Let me drop the plot for you guys because the back cover tells us pretty much nothing. Earth is overcrowded, and so these massive ships of settlers are sent out into habitable planets to relocate. Carrying 50,000 eager settlers, the Golden Hind arrives at the planet Roker 2 and finds that the colonists who should be there getting things set up aren't answering their calls. Unwilling to just land and start unloading passengers in an unknown environment, the commander of the Golden Hind decides to send down a team of civilian scientists and engineers and stuff to kind of go down and see why the colonists aren't answering their calls and ascertain maybe something is wrong with this planet that they didn't originally know about. No sooner did the colonists leave the ship on a shuttle when the Golden Hind mysteriously explodes behind them. They manage to land, but then find themselves stranded on this oppressive, sickly, sweet-smelling planet. As they begin to piece together what happened to the original crew, they start to realize that the same thing may be happening to them. The psionically gifted find that their abilities begin to wane. Formerly confident men are falling into lethargy, and some are slowly going mad, others quickly going mad. and the haunting death rattle of the sole colonist survivor chills their blood. Help, get away, go while nothing but crabs. Crabs! He spat out the word and then suddenly burst into a peal of cracked laughter, at which set their teeth on edge. No! He screamed suddenly. No, get away! Leave me alone! Bloody crabs! This is actually one of my favorite type of premises. I like the premises. This is a good premise. I like the premise of a team of specialists going into an unknown environment to kind of ascertain what happened. I love that mystery. This book coupled a ticking clock element to that as well, and in my book, that's a winning combination. The world of Roker 2 is alien and visceral. It's a single island on a world of water, and the heat is oppressive, sapping their strength. There's strange smells constantly. The flora is bizarre and alien. The fauna, there doesn't seem to be any, with the exception of these strange, short-lived, wispy little insects. Elder is not just a visual writer. He successfully engages all senses, and writing-wise, that's probably the best thing he did. They find a dead body at one point. The teeth were clenched behind lips bared in a hideous grimace, and though the eyes were dead and expressionless, they still seemed to glare balefully into the sky with a furious, demoniac hatred, as though all the fiends of hell were hurrying towards him. So that's cool. Psionic abilities. That was such a trope back then, wasn't it? It seems like every other book I read, somebody has a psionic ability, or a telepathic ability, or a empathic ability, some kind of mental ability. Usually it has no bearing on the story. It's just kind of added in because I guess that's what we did in the 60s.
You can read minds.
I'm going to be honest, I'm getting a little bit tired of the trope at this point, but in the case of Flight to Terror, I didn't seem to mind it. The ability is so rare, and so that when strangely two people on this stranded crew have this ability, they form this natural connection, and I thought the chemistry between them was really, really well, because they have an instant connection. They share everything. They have complete access to both their thoughts, so it kind of is able to expedite their relationship. What's more is this psionic ability was actually relevant to the plot. Their ability was actually necessary for their survival, and in this world that is constantly leeching their abilities, it created some welcome tension. And now, the bad. The character introductions in the beginning were unnecessarily convoluted and messy. Now, what I mean by that is we meet all the characters, we meet the whole cast at the exact same time, which is fine. They're all explained for the most part. But then we go through scenes where Elder doesn't specify and tag who is in the scenes and who is saying what. And so a scene will open up and it'll say, like, he came in and found her sitting there. They got up and left. And it's like, who are you talking about? We have 3 female characters and 5 male characters. Who's in this scene? We don't know. This happens several times, just in the beginning when we're establishing character traits and their backstories. Unfortunately, this didn't just muddy 1 or 2 characters because we didn't know who he's talking about. It made everybody confusing, and I found that most of the characters at this point, it was hard to differentiate. Like, who does he have the psionic ability? Are her parents on the planet? Like, it was so unnecessarily confusing. Eventually, as the story progressed, I was able to kind of retroactively cobble together some of the events and some of the backstories. It was just way too much work, and it could have been very easily avoided. The story took way too long to get going. The crew touches down on the planet at page 57, which is over a quarter of the way through this book. For the pace and events of this story, I think that is way too long, because up until that point, nothing actually happened.
Today, I just want to slow the pace.
Additionally, once we touch down, exploration is timid and reserved. This book is light on action anyways, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it has this meandering feel to it. In fact, even the few tense or action scenes are kind of meandered or stumbled into by the crew.
I mustn't overreact. I must remain calm.
The characters, for the most part, don't seem to have much, if any, agency. Events just happen and they sluggishly react to it. And even when they attempt to move the plot, they aren't good or proficient at their jobs.
You didn't do a good job.
The leader is stricken by indecision, and as a result, the crew kind of flounder around in frustration. I felt that frustration as well, and I wonder if Elder dealt with some indecision. Honestly, this one could be in the fun section as well. We'll keep it here. The Golden Hind is a military vessel, right? Military run. Got a military pilot, military crew, transporting 50,000 colonists. Got it. When faced with a situation where some recon is necessary, they say, well, that's what a computer is for. So they input all the stuff in the computer, and the computer says, send down a crew of civilians, and it selected these 5 or 6, however many civilians. Do you guys smell what Mikey Elder is cooking? Nonsense. Now, we are told that the reason the civilians were sent down is because they don't know if Roker 2 is hospitable.
Hey, don't open that! It's an alien planet! Is there air? You don't know!
Is there breathable air? Is there drinkable water? Can the soil facilitate crops? That's why they sent these specialists. Plot hole alert! Isn't that something that should have been handled over a decade ago before the first colonists arrived? Also, you're telling me that they bust 50,000 colonists across the cosmos over the course of 10 years to land on a planet that they didn't know was hospitable or not? Were they guessing? Like, who would sign up for that? Look up there. Did you guys see that twinkly star? Yeah, we're going to take you to a planet that's circling around there. Yep. We don't know if it's hospitable or not. It'll take 10 years to get there. It cost $1 million space bucks. And if not, we'll just turn around and come back home if it doesn't end up working out. You in?
Yeah, I'm in.
You feeling crabby? How about some fun? This crew is hot and bothered. Everybody in this book is sexually frustrated. Despite multiple attempts at copulation, as the Latin saying goes, coitus interruptus. I don't want to die a virgin. A crab attack! Just like the stranded crew, no rocks are getting off on this planet. We read about frustration. After frustration, a crazed man attacks a woman, literally driven mad by lust. Also, the commander has ED. Which, I couldn't help but look into this part because the amount of detail in the dysfunction or said condition, I think could really only come from experience. It's okay, Michael. Sometimes we write things in certain seasons of life and they just, life circumstance just bleeds in. You know what I'm saying? But really, it is okay. Hello, everybody. Jake here. Hope you're enjoying the review today. We'll get back to it in just a second, but first, a word from our sponsors. Hey, are you stranded on a hot planet with a bunch of babes, but your rocket can't achieve liftoff? Try Blue Space Crabs. You know, when I saw this cover, I really didn't know what to think. I thought maybe this crab here is some sort of metaphor, that maybe this is a Death World-esque planet, has a crab attack sequence in there or something, and this is just here to symbolize and represent the danger. I never would have guessed, even though it's plainly obvious, that this book has space crabs. Well, Jake, do you mean crab-like aliens? Like some crustacean clawed fiends from another world? No. Nope. Crabs in space. Elder didn't even say they look like crabs. No. They were crabs. They are more advanced than humans. They fly through space with these little crab-built spaceships. The initial conflict was just a misunderstanding. They are super kind and helpful. They communicate telepathically. They're peaceful. They save the humans in the end. Whoops, oops, spoilers. You know what? Who cares? You're actually welcome. So what's the verdict? Thrift Shop. There's some good here, but I can't express the disappointment in learning that this cover was literal. The premise was initially so interesting, only to be sprinkled with Old Bay and boiled in the pot of stupidity. Frickin' space crabs ruined it for me. I wouldn't recommend reading this. But if your spaceship just so happens to crash land on an alien planet full of babes and crabs, and you're losing your mind, your wiener's broken, and all you have is this book, I'd say go ahead and enjoy. And that is my review of Flight to Terror. Tell us in the comments, do you suffer from erectile As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time with Cycle of Fire.